my fellow Rotarians, Mr. Chris Parker.
My name is Chris Parker. It's nice to be surrounded by all of you people. Thanks for coming out today, and to everyone who is joining by Zoom as well. So yeah, I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about an experience that I had a couple of months ago here in Thailand that was just an amazing, life-changing experience for me. And you know, I've had a few kind of trips and moments in my life that have stuck with me. And this is definitely one of them. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to share this, a bit of the story of it. And I did make a video. I'm sure some people here probably saw the video. But I wanted to just start with a message and end with a message. And that is, don't let life pass you by. I think there's a lot of people in this day and age that are getting caught up in stuff that just makes time pass without meaning, you know? Whether it's scrolling on an endless scroll on your phone, looking at TikTok for some of the younger generation, or just kind of going through the motions and not making time to stop and appreciate things. I think this is one of the key things that this trip that I'm going to tell you about reminded me. So just a little bit of introduction about me as Rutorn introduced. I started a YouTube channel, and somehow it has grown bigger than I could have ever imagined. My channel's all about Thailand, the various things I love about Thailand, Thai people, culture. And I started that just out of boredom when the pandemic hit. And I think that the reason that my channel has been somewhat successful is because the country of Thailand, your country, has given me so much that it's easy for me to talk about it with true passion. And if there's one thing that you see time and again, it's people who try to go on YouTube, successful ones, usually coming from a place of true passion. Lastly, when I started to generate money, I decided that because Thailand's like the fuel that goes on the fire of my YouTube channel, without it there's nothing, I decided it would be nice to kind of bring some of that full circle and put some money back into the local communities. I do this through an initiative that I call Pay It Forward. And I thought that this would be a great thing to do. So constantly looking for opportunities in all parts of Thailand. And not just opportunities, sometimes it's simple things. Maybe helping a Thai guy in Phuket start a coffee shop and give him, you know, the ability to chase his dream. But oftentimes my favorite ones are when I find someone else doing amazing work that I get a chance to just be a part of, witness, and highlight. And I realized that I couldn't do this alone. And so the first lesson that I learned when going through this, when I was reflecting on the trip we had, was discover the magic of your personal network. And what do I mean by that? Well, as I have gotten older, the world seems to get smaller every day. You suddenly start to have more coincidences pop up, especially if you're welcoming them and acknowledging them. From people you meet who know someone to you know, places you find yourself in, situations you find yourself in. A friend of mine said that to me last week, and it stuck with me. What are the chances that I'm standing here right now, today, talking to you guys? And this to me illustrates the magic of your personal network, how a series of unlikely events has led me to this exact moment in time. So first, what had to happen was I had to meet Sean Stenning and Lisa. They run a place called Living Waters Phuket. In order for me to meet them, I had to have decided to start a YouTube channel, decide to pay it forward, and found them somehow in Phuket. Next thing you know, about 2 years ago, me and him connect on FaceTime, and next thing you know, we're down there helping with life bags and stuff in Phuket. And it just turned into a great friendship that's carried on to this day. But the chances of me meeting him in the first place couldn't have been that big. Next, I meet Rutorn and Kun Salakjeet. What are the chances that we would have ever met on the 7 billion people walking around planet Earth? I would say pretty small, but we've had a chance to start to get to know each other. I think we're at the start of a nice long journey, and without having met them, I certainly wouldn't be standing here today. Next, Sean led me to this guy sitting right here. We'll talk more about him in a bit, to Michael Andreasen. That was happenstance. I mean, I'm sitting there, Sean comes up to Bangkok. Next thing you know, we go out for dinner, and just natural conversation led us to a place of, you know what you should do? You should go up and make a video about this guy and what they're doing up in Northern Thailand. It feels so natural when it happens that you're just in a conversation and it just goes that way. But the chances of that happening, Michael, pretty small this time last year. And then last, I had to meet Bob and Paula. They're the camera team today. And they also volunteered to go up and help shoot this video and go on this journey that I know was as magical for you as it was for me. We're not going to test anybody, but we'll do a little bit of math here. Assume the probability of meeting each one of you guys is 1%. That's pretty good odds, I would say. When you do the math on that, the probability of all things happening, don't worry, I'm doing the math for you, is 0.000001%, which funnily enough is 1 in a million. And it made me think that when once in a million opportunities arise, just say yes. You know, say yes to them, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. And believe me, Michael, it was difficult and inconvenient. The sales pitch for this trip is, hey, do you want to go to a place that's a 9-hour drive from Chiang Mai? The last 4 hours, you are driving up the middle of it. We'll get to that. And I would also tell you that once in a million opportunities happen more than any of us think. You just got to be open to seeing them. We're going off-road 2 hours into the mountains. We're going to see how the hill tribes live, learn about some of the challenges that they face, particularly with education, and we're going to meet a group of people that are performing miracles. It's not easy to get in there, and I called my old buddy Sean, and he explained what the first part of the adventure would be like.
You're going to go into a 4-wheel drive. I think about 4 hours after you leave Chiang Mai, you're going to head off-road. And you'll be going through, you know, most probably floodwaters, raging rivers, hills that don't have actual really good roads. So you might get stuck in the mud. It's better that you experience it and see it. You know, anyone that I've sent to go up comes back and just, they're totally 100% sold on this being the most valuable project they could spend their time on.
It was a long and difficult journey in, but there we were, said yes to the once in a million chance. And that leads me to lesson number 2 that I learned through all of this, which is to truly cherish your family and friends. Something that I know everybody in here knows. We all know it. It's just nice to be reminded of it sometimes. And this trip definitely reminded me of it, and it sparked a couple of thoughts I'd like to share. One of them is treat your family like friends and your friends like family. I think that's a great code to live by. And also that the family and friends are the 2 greatest facilitators of happiness, I think, generally in life. And speaking of families, the Andreasens. This was the first family that we met once we kind of got in there. And I met Michael, and then I met his dad Ingvar, and ultimately we met back in Bangkok with his mother Karen. And this is a family that is inspiring. Back in 1981, a couple from Norway named Ingvar and Karen Andreasen moved to Thailand with their 2 small children. They immediately started helping local communities like this, and they've been doing it for the past 41 years straight. And their son Michael, living in Thailand since he was just 3 years old, has dedicated his entire life to helping these forgotten communities. That was family number 1 for me, that made me reflect on the importance of family. Family number 2 was the first local family that we met. And I mean, that's a special experience, to say the least. Where I come from, there's a lot of kids her age, definitely not cherishing their family, you know, and I think that there's a lot to learn when you get into some challenged communities and communities that just live a different lifestyle. And you got to remember, right now, we're off grid. We're 4 hours from the closest phone. There's no internet in her life. There's a 1.5 hour walk to school each way through a jungle and raging rivers at times. So to paint the picture of kids where I come from, saying how tough they have it these days, it's nice to just kind of really hear from someone and see what they think of their family. The people who live here are native to the area and members of the Karen tribe. They've been here for generations. In every valley is another small village, most with no more than 10 houses, 10 families, cut off from the world. No hospital, no internet, no telephone. I wondered about the kids who live here and the challenges they face in getting a basic education.
กว่าจะไปถึงโรงเรียนต้องยากลำบากมากเลยค่ะก็คิดถึงนะคะน้ำตาไหลหนูกลัวมากเลยค่ะความรู้สึกหนูอยากร้องไห้มากเลยค่ะคิดถึงพ่อแม่ค่ะแต่หนูก็สู้ค่ะเพราะว่าพ่อแม่หนักกว่าทำงานหนักกว่าหนูเยอะค่ะหนูก็พยายามไปให้ถึงค่ะหนูก็ตั้งใจเรียนค่ะเพราะก่อนไปโรงเรียนพ่อแม่จะบอกหนูตลอดว่าให้ลูกตั้งใจเรียนเพื่อมีอนาคตที่ดีกว่าค่ะไม่อยากให้เป็นเหมือนพ่อแม่ค่ะหนูว่าดีใจค่ะที่มีพ่อถึงจะไม่รวยแต่หนูก็มีพ่อที่อบอุ่นครอบครัวที่อบอุ่นค่ะก็มีความสุขค่ะพ่อจะอบรมสั่งสอนหนูตลอดเลยค่ะจะให้หนูพยายามมากกว่าคนอื่นค่ะแบบตั้งใจเรียนศึกษาให้หนูเรียนต่อเรียนสูงเรียนให้จบและเป็นครูเป็นหมอนี่คือสิ่งที่พ่ออยากให้หนูเป็นค่ะหนูก็มีความสุขนะคะที่ได้เกิดมาเป็นลูกพ่อหนูขอบคุณพ่อค่ะ
And how did this change my life? This lesson about cherishing family? Well, I was lucky enough, I got back off that trip and immediately led to this amazing series of events with my family. This is my mom and dad. A month after this trip, my parents came to Thailand and spent 2 months. And on the heels of this trip, with all the things like that girl and her father and Michael and everyone that impacted me, I was able to really appreciate the time that I had with my parents. I think that much more. And my wife and I actually, my wife's also from Korea, so annyeonghaseyo, she would say. And we had a great time. We went all over Thailand, and it was enhanced by this experience that we had. And best of all, that's my daughter. My daughter also came over at Christmas, so all of us were back together, and that just allowed me to cherish the times with my family that much more. Lesson 3 that I learned on this trip is that it only takes a little to help a lot. One thing that I think it's important to remember is you don't have to help everyone, you just have to help one. If everyone let that block them from helping, then nobody's going to help anyone in the world, because there'd be this block to just, well, I'm not doing enough, so why do anything? And so it only takes a little to help a lot. Well, I Care helps a lot. I'm going to be putting this presentation most likely on my YouTube channel. I will leave a link because I Care deserves your support, and you could help a little like I did. So there's myself there. There was another guy named Ricard, a Swedish guy. He comes up for 3 days and fixes a bunch of bicycles. And now people have more mobility up there. You know, Bob and Paula were with me. We come up for 3 days, make a video, help get word out. Every little bit helps. And how much is a little? Just to quantify it in I Care terms, 450,000 baht can change an entire community. It can make the difference in the course of lives for an entire small community of children in these places like we visited. 500 baht, $15, can change the course of one child's life. And they do that, and we were lucky enough to be a part of it through monthly scholarships for kids whose families don't have the means to support them getting educated for whatever reason, multitude of reasons, and that, you know, eliminates that pain point and literally changes the entire future path of possibilities in life for a person. It goes back to just helping one, you know, is pretty good. And so how did this one change my life? Lesson number 3, when I meet people like Michael and get to hang out with Bob and Paula and Rutorn suddenly is part of my life, all these people that share this mentality, it kind of fosters itself. I think the world, you have 2 gravitational forces. One is negative and one is positive. And unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of pull to the negative side, especially in my part of the world. Everyone's fighting with each other. Everyone's arguing about nothing but politics and black is white and white is black. They can't agree on anything. We start hanging out. It's just it's nice. There's a positive gravitational force that I think we can all be part of. And this lesson for me just reminded me of that, and so it energizes me to go out. I had a conversation. This guy here is there's a school in Samui called the Samui School for Autistic Kids. Amazing kids. They're awesome. It's a great place, run by a great lady. This thing that we did has spurred a conversation I had with a friend 3 days ago, where we're just talking about all the right things and trying to continue making a difference when and where we can. And this is, I think, the final lesson number 4. Thank your lucky stars. What do I mean by that? Well, my mom used to say this to me. Mom, if you're out watching, when I was like 9 years old, a little boy, she meant something different. There's an expression in English, you better thank your lucky stars. And that was like, I was in a bit of trouble or something, but you better thank your lucky stars your father's not here, or something like this. But when I was preparing for this and thinking about this, that just popped into my head for some reason. And after meeting some people on this trip, this expression took on a new meaning. And it's these girls here.
ไม่แปลก็ไม่ได้
อันนี้กับข้าวเดี๋ยวกับข้าวกินไม่อิ่มนะคะเราต้องกินข้าวที่มาติดหม้อเดี๋ยวก็กินข้าวที่มาติดหม้อ
And so there wasn't really a whole lot of food going on, so they would always go back and scrape the bottom of the pot for like the burnt rice at the bottom just to get the last
my
one.
favorite part I love that ขุดนะ
ใช่
สมัยก่อนในเวลาเดี๋ยวกันนะสมัยก่อนเวลาเขาให้ไปล้างหม้อใช่ไหมคะเราต้องแยกกันล้างเพื่อ พื่อที่เราจะได้กินข้าวไหม้น่ะแต่เดี๋ยวนี้เนี่ยเด็กนี่ไม่ชอบล้างหม้อกันนะ
So they would have to fight over who would be the one to wash the pots, because whoever got to wash the pot got to scrape the pot and would just grab that last bit of rice from the pot.
The thing that struck us all deeply was the stories they tell at face value. They could be sad stories. We had to fight over who gets to wash the pot because we had to scrape to get the extra rice. What I didn't show you was the next part of the story where they said, and then one summer the crops weren't growing enough, so we had to, remember we found the big tree and we scraped the tree bark and we ate this? And then we ate so much tree bark that the tree died. Ah, ha, ha, that was hilarious. They're telling it with joy. It's a weird thing to comprehend. You tell that story, it's like, and then we had to eat the tree bark. That's not how they live. And so the lessons for me is thank your lucky star means find joy in what you have and don't get caught up in what you don't have. Pretty simple. And, you know, sometimes I have to remind myself of that. And so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to put it in here. And how did this change my life? Every now and again, I think we all need a necessary kind of reminder that when you wake up in the morning to kind of thank your lucky stars. I get up every day, I find myself in places, and I got one other friend who also does it all the time. His name's Scott, and he's like, sometimes I go to bed and I feel guilty because I have it so good. I feel guilty about this, and then I realize, no, it's just life is good, and it's an awesome way to kind of think about things, I think, and it results in the world being a more positive place. So I'd like to kind of get to the end by saying thank you, Michael, your father Ingvar, and now Karen, for inspiring me, for doing what you do for Thailand, first of all, a country we all love, and then for welcoming us tourists in to a life-changing kind of trip up there. It was awesome, and it had an impact, more than you'd know. And just as the Andreasen family has inspired you, I hope that I'm successfully channeling some of these inspirational things through myself and out to anyone who might be watching. Then we got the rest of the gang. Those three girls there, they're hilarious. Bob and Paula, Ajarn, and Rutorn and Salakjeet as well. Thank you. The people like you guys are what it's all about, you know? Super humble, nice, giving people. And so I will just close by saying, don't ever forget my favorite expression in the whole world. You only get so many trips around the sun. So make each and every one of them count. We're all going to die someday. What happens after that, nobody really knows. All we know is, well, we're sitting here riding on this crazy blue and green ball. Every time you do a lap around the sun, reflect on it, think back, and think about, you know, all the good that happened to you, because it's there, whether you thought about it all year or not, and think about what you can do in the next trip around the sun.